This will continue through the overnight, and it will still be unsettled as well through parts of BC on Thursday. Glad you could join us. I'm meteorologist Nicole Karkic. Taking a look at the cloud tops, we are still seeing some moisture at this point around Vancouver, but it has tapered off a little bit since this morning. But for the interior around Kelowna and Penticton, we're getting some rain, and that will start to pick up for you tomorrow. Now, Mark Robinson has been live on location in Tofino. Mark, how has the weather been there today? Good idea. You're going to need them. And into tomorrow, more rain piling on top of this. These are the totals as of 11 a.m. East Pacific time. Vancouver, 22 millimeters. Abbotsford, 34. Squamish up to 40. So we're getting a bit more through to tomorrow. And the wind gusts, no wind warnings with this event, but Tofino got up to 61 kilometers an hour. And Solander Island, 111 kilometers an hour. So pretty strong stuff. And the southeasterly winds will continue. Anything marked in red seeing the strongest winds at this point. Georgia Strait, also some gusty conditions. Vancouver getting an easterly flow as well for today. And by Friday, it does start to ease. So tomorrow, still in the throes of this storm. This evening, risk of some thunderstorms in through the interior of BC. We've seen some lightning strikes already today around Mackenzie, and this spills over into Alberta. And for the rain tomorrow, I do want to point out that Revelstoke, Penticton, 10 to 20 millimeters of rain, and an additional through to Thursday, 10 millimeters possibly for Vancouver. Squamish, a bit more for you. Coming up, we'll talk about our stories in BC. Thanks for joining us. I'm meteorologist Nicole Karkic. The active weather is really centered in BC at this point still. We've seen some rains tapering off through parts of Vancouver Island and Metro Vancouver, but an additional 10 millimeters for Vancouver. Squamish getting a bit more, maybe even 40. And on Thursday, Revelstoke, Penticton, that's when you're getting the bulk of the rainfall, and that's 10 to 20 millimeters of rain. The afternoon in Calgary, 27 degrees, so above average, and it's staying that way. We've got a big ridge in the jet stream, and it's allowing all this warm air to move into not just Alberta, but parts of the prairie provinces where yesterday we had record-breaking temperatures. We expect those numbers to be record-breaking again today, and tomorrow it gets even warmer. Look at that bright orange, very dark. That's an indication of the warm air on this legend right here. So Thursday afternoon in Calgary, it'll be 21. Lethbridge is 26. Medicine Hat will be 29, and Thursday afternoon in Edmonton sitting at 20 degrees. But look at these temperatures. It will be 32 in Regina, 30 in Winnipeg, feeling closer to 34. Well, coming up, we'll continue to update you on the big storm in BC. We'll have Mark Robinson live on location in Tofino. Our active weather watch starts in British Columbia. Thanks for joining us. I'm meteorologist Nicole Karkic. Cloud top still showing that this system is still moving across BC, and we're also getting some moisture now spilling into Alberta as we head into Thursday night through to Friday. So that's on the horizon for you. Rainfall totals as of 11 a.m. local time. Vancouver, 22 millimeters of rain. Abbotsford, 34. Squamish, up to 40. Now, our very own Mark Robinson has been traveling across Vancouver Island since yesterday. He was in Tofino through the day. And Mark, as I understand, you've been in some of the most stormy weather and dangerous locations as well. Well, playing it safe there, Mark, hopefully. And we're going to check in with him again throughout the hour. As we look at other rainfall totals here, Port Moody got up to 60 millimeters, North Delta 55, and West Vancouver a little bit more than Metro Vancouver. As we look at the risk for thunderstorms today, Kamloops up to Mackenzie, there's been a risk. We've seen a few lightning strikes today around Mackenzie, and then there's going to be the risk through parts of Alberta as well. I want to point out that if you're in Revelstoke or Penticton, Thursdays when you're going to see the bulk of the heaviest rain, 10 to 20 millimeters is expected. As for downtown Vancouver, an additional 10 millimeters of rain, and we've seen a bit of a break for you late afternoon. That will still be followed by more rain into tomorrow, so it's not quite letting up, and there's going to be cloud cover at times. Tofino getting 20 to 40 millimeters of rain. Temperature-wise, Thursday afternoon, Vancouver sitting at 17 degrees, which is actually quite seasonal for this time of year. Victoria 17, Penticton 17, and over the next 7 days, there is some sunshine returning, but coming on Saturday for you in Vancouver. Coming up, we're going to count down the top 5 rainiest cities and look at where in the country we're not seeing rain until October. Well, we're seeing lots of rain in BC, including Prince Rupert, an additional 10 to 20 millimeters of rain, but not the rainiest spot in BC. Through to Thursday, places like Tofino getting an additional 40 millimeters of rain, and the interior also getting wet through Thursday with 10 to 20 millimeters. Well, where it's dry, got up to 22 degrees. And on Tuesday, similar values. Downtown Toronto, 22, Pearson, 22.5. A lot of people were saying that they felt that it was warmer, and that's because the humidity made it feel like it, but the temperatures, yep, sitting at about 22. Not bad for this time of year. Thursday morning, Toronto 13, sunshine across the board. Up to Barrie, will be 9. Ottawa's 10. And by Thursday afternoon, a similar day to today. Pretty much a carbon copy. We're going to have some southeast winds in Toronto, southwest winds rather, and the high 22. Let's head next to Halifax. You see some sunshine through to tomorrow. And as far as temperatures go, anything that's yellow is conditions above the 0 mark. And as you get into oranges, that's when temperatures really heat up. So we're getting there by Thursday, but we're really going to heat up across the maritime provinces for this weekend. However, there is this section right here in through Labrador City in particular, in the blues. That's where the cold air is, but we're staying nice and warm here for you in the maritime provinces. Thursday morning in Halifax, 9 degrees. St. John will be 9. St. John's, Newfoundland will be 8. And by the afternoon, 17 in St. John's. And look at all that sunshine sticking around for your Thursday. Well, coming up, we'll continue to update you on the coverage of... While the pattern certainly changed yesterday in BC, we went from a very dry summer to a wet pattern, a very fall-like system, still bringing some cloud cover across Vancouver Island and the lower mainland. Wind gusts have been impressive as well. Tofino gusts up to 61 kilometers an hour. Solander Island, 111, and for Campbell River, 59. And this is as of 11 a.m. local time. Mark Robinson has been in Tofino through the day. Mark's telling us how the weather has been through this afternoon. All right, surfing looks so dangerous in those conditions, but I'm sure lots of fun if you know how to do it. This evening, we're still going to see some strong winds along Vancouver Island, West Vancouver Island in particular. Tofino, you can see still in the orange and the reds, and that's winds that are the strongest, of course. Southeast winds are the flow, and it does start to ease off by Thursday evening, and then Friday won't be as breezy, and Georgia Strait still going to see some gusty conditions into Friday morning. This is the rainfall totals so far. Vancouver, 22 millimeters, Abbotsford, 34, Squamish, 40 millimeters. And as we take a zoomed in look, you can see here a very close proximity, these regions. But just depending on elevation, you can see how there's a difference between Port Moody at 60 millimeters and Vancouver at 22. This is how much more rain we're going to get. Vancouver, an additional 10. But for the interior, I want to point out tomorrow, it's your wet day this week, 10 to 20 millimeters, Revelstoke down to Penticton. Also tonight, not out of the question to see some lightning strikes around Kamloops, Mackenzie, anywhere we've marked in yellow. That does include parts of Alberta. So for Thursday evening, still going to see that weather in through the southern interior as well as BC. Does start to clear out for Saturday, making way for some sunshine. So you're going to be able to enjoy the weekend. Temperatures, though, sitting at seasonal over the next 7 days. Coming up, more coverage of our BC story and a preview of storm hunters this fall. Look at where the strong winds are. BC, Solander Island, 111 kilometers an hour with the storm today. Tofino, 61 kilometer an hour peak winds, and Campbell River, 59. And the winds will continue through the overnight southeasterly flow. West Vancouver Island, strong winds right into tomorrow's forecast as well. They do is on Friday. Now, here's what you're going to see this fall on Storm Hunters, only here on the Weather Network. As well as heavy amounts of rain. Glad you could join us. I'm meteorologist Nicole Karkic. Cloud tops right here you can see moving across Metro Vancouver, Abbotsford as well, and up to parts of Alberta. We'll talk about the rain you've already seen, but speaking of the big stormy weather, right in the thick of it, we find Mark Robinson on Vancouver Island. Thanks so much, Mark. All right, so as far as the rain that we have seen, these are the totals. And as Mark said, more's coming. So we're just going to add these numbers up for you, and by tomorrow, they'll be bigger. Vancouver downtown, 22 millimeters, and this recording really is at the airport, so keep that in mind. Victoria, 16 millimeters, Squamish, 40, and the winds, another part of the story, and you could see with Mark there, blowing all around. It's been strong. Tofino gusts up to 61 kilometers an hour, Solander Island, 111. But we have seen no wind warnings with this this event, it has been under that wind warning criteria, but strong enough to be still quite substantial along West Vancouver Island through the overnight and into tomorrow as well. Anything in red still seeing the strong southeast winds, and through the Georgia Strait it will be gusty. And then by Friday you're going to be in the clear. Much calmer conditions overall. This evening, not out of the question to see some lightning strikes around Mackenzie down to Kamloops and in through parts of northern Alberta. And for the rainfall, this is the additional amounts. So the interior is going to get around 10 to 20 millimeters. For you in Vancouver and across the lower mainland, a general 10, but Squamish closer to about 40 millimeters of rain. Coming up, we'll take a look at your weather in Alberta and talk about those above average temperatures in the prairie provinces. Glad you could join us. I'm meteorologist Nicole Karkic, taking a look at the cloud tops. Anything in dark is the thicker clouds, and we do see that across the interior of BC and extending up to parts of Alberta. So far, we have picked up in Vancouver 22 millimeters. That's at the airport. Squamish 40, Abbotsford 34, and Victoria 16. We're going to check in with Mark Robinson, who's been traveling across Vancouver Island today. All right, so lots to report on Vancouver Island. And the big story about this, too, is that parts of BC have not seen significant rain like we're seeing today since March. This evening, there is a slight risk of thunderstorms, very non-severe in nature, and that extends up to Alberta. We have seen some lightning strikes already north of Prince George near Mackenzie at this point, but overall hasn't fired off too much. Through Thursday, this is the additional rainfall. So on top of what you've already seen, Revelstoke, Penticton getting 10 to 20 millimeters. Squamish will see closer to 40. Vancouver, an additional 10. And Tofino, 20 to 40 millimeters. For Thursday afternoon, temperatures in Vancouver 17, Victoria 17, Whistler will be 15. So very seasonal temperatures. And the sun will return. That's going to happen on Saturday with a high of 19 degrees. Well, speaking of rain, we're going to count down the top 5 rainiest cities in Canada. That's next. Our active weather watch continues. I'm meteorologist Nicole Karkic. Seeing the cloud tops here, you can see a band of clouds moving across Vancouver Island and the lower mainland as well. It's been a very fall-like storm moving across BC at this point. Heavy amounts of rain and strong winds. We'll talk about those numbers in a moment, but right now let's go where the action is. Vancouver Island, where we find Mark Robinson. And Mark, how have people been coping with this storm after such a dry stretch this summer? All right. Thanks so much, Mark. So some strong winds on the island today. Tofino, Mark and Caleb, the cameraman, ran into my mother today. She's on vacation in Tofino, loving it, loving watching the storms. For Solander Island, 111 kilometer an hour wind gusts. Campbell River, 59. And yes, the winds will continue overnight tonight. Anywhere marked in red is going to see the strongest southeast flow. And by Thursday evening, you'll feel them easing, but it's not until Friday when it's going to be a lot calmer across Vancouver Island as well as in through the Georgia Strait. Now, rainfall totals as of earlier today, so this is 11 a.m. local time, we saw 22 millimeters at Vancouver Airport, Abbotsford 34, Squamish 40, and a zoomed-in look here, Port Moody 60 millimeters, North Delta 55 millimeters of rain, and there's a little bit more to go, an additional 10 for Metro Vancouver. Coming up, we'll give you a preview of our next installment of Storm Hunters this fall. Look at where the strong winds are. BC, Solander Island, 111 kilometers an hour with the storm today. Tofino, 61 kilometer an hour peak winds, and Campbell River, 59. And the winds will continue through the overnight southeasterly flow. West Vancouver Island, strong winds right into tomorrow's forecast as well. They do is on Friday. Now, here's what you're going to see this fall on Storm Hunters, only here on the Weather Network. Tonight through to tomorrow through many parts of the lower mainland and parts of Vancouver Island. As we look at the cloud tops, you can see in through the interior as well, getting some cloud cover. As far as the rain has gone, as of 11 a.m. local time, Vancouver at the airport, 22 millimeters of rain, Squamish 40. And as we take a zoomed in look, a lot of areas quite close to each other, but based on elevation and where you are, you can just see a big difference. Port Moody, 60 millimeters, contrasted with West Vancouver, 27 millimeters of rain. Now, our very own Mark Robinson has been traveling across Vancouver Island today. Let's find out how his travels have been. Pretty impressive stuff. A lot of people getting close to the shoreline to see that today, I'm sure. Now, this evening, we're seeing a risk of some thunderstorms, very non-severe Kamloops up towards Mackenzie and in parts of Alberta as well. And through to Thursday, this is how much extra rain you'll get in BC. Tofino, 20 to 40 millimeters on top of what has already fallen. For Metro Vancouver, under 10 millimeters, but Squamish, Chilliwack, Abbotsford, maybe getting up to an additional 20 millimeters. I want to point out that Revelstoke and Penticton tomorrow, 10 to 20 millimeters, so that's going to be your heaviest rainfall day this week. Thursday afternoon, Vancouver 17, Penticton 17, Nelson 19, Golden 16, so those temperatures much closer to seasonal. And the rain, it does start to taper off a little bit Thursday, but Friday more rain in Vancouver, under 10 millimeters. But Saturday and Sunday, we start to see that sunshine returning. Now, speaking of rain, coming up next, we're going to count down the top 5 rainiest cities across Canada. Find out if your city makes the list. Island today, talking to people, including my mom. She's on vacation in Tofino. She said there was a bit of a break this morning. There was some sunshine, but followed by more rain as the day went on. Cloud cover through the lower mainland continues, and we do have some cloud cover moving in through northern Alberta as well at this point. Here's some of the wind gusts. Tofino, 61 kilometers an hour. Solander Island, 111, and Campbell River, 59. Now, speaking of Tofino, Mark Robinson's been there talking to people about how they're feeling about the weather. And this summer was pretty impressive across BC. We saw a dry stretch above seasonal temperatures, and we really haven't seen a big storm like this bringing a lot of rain since March. So it has caught a lot of people off guard, or just you're not used to it yet. Southeast winds along West Vancouver Island still quite strong into the overnight and for Thursday morning. But by Friday, you can see the colors changing, getting back into these yellows. That's an indication of the much more normal winds. And for the Georgia Strait, we're going to see winds Friday morning sustained at about 10 to 15 kilometers an hour. 11 a.m. Wednesday, these are the rainfall totals for local time. Vancouver Airport, 22 millimeters, Squamish 40, Abbotsford 34. So we've already seen a little bit more rain on top of this. We're going to round up those totals for you as the evening goes on and into tomorrow. West Vancouver saw 27 millimeters, but Port Moody got 60 millimeters of rain and still more to go. So for Vancouver and the downtown core, an additional 10, but around Abbotsford, Squamish, Chilliwack, we could be getting up to 20 to 40 millimeters through tomorrow. In the interior, bit more tomorrow than today, with up to 20 millimeters of rain. Coming up, we'll take a look at a preview of storm hunters coming this fall.